You're watching Outsiders. I'm Rita Panahi and I'm joined by the bold and beautiful Chris Smith and the always audacious Rita Panahi. We're about to talk to a man who is working on the ground with some of the most persecuted Christians in the world. That's coming up next. But first, I want to let you know about a disturbing development in Victoria, a new assault against free speech that, if passed, could have grim consequences. Laws that extend the Racial and Religious Tolerance Act to include gender identity, disability and sexual orientation are being considered in the Victorian Upper House. It's bad enough that illiberal bullies regularly launch coordinated attacks to harass, deplatform and silence ideological opponents. Now they will seek more laws to punish them in the courts or the Victorian Civil and Administrative Tribunal for wrong speak. Under the pretext of tackling trolling and hate speech, the proposed laws will ban speech that is likely to incite hatred or likely to incite severe ridicule. What utter lunacy! In the interests of accuracy, the bill should be called the Cry Bully Amendment. Instead of tackling trolling, the proposed laws pander to the worst type of online trolls, those who dish out endless bile but become indignant victims when called out. Cry bullies who use these type of laws to harass those who challenge their worldview. We've already seen women in the UK and Canada become victims of such legislation. Women who have been targeted by authorities for questioning the extent of the transgender agenda. As with Section 18C of the Federal Racial Discrimination Act, the process is the punishment. Innocent people who are accused are dragged through a stressful, costly and time-consuming process that can be devastating. And this bill lowers the bar so far that anyone could be found guilty. If you do or say something that is likely to lead to severe ridicule, you could be going to jail for 6 months. On this program, every week, we discuss examples of the far left's weird and wacky ways. We don't employ the left's tactics in trying to get these people sacked or deplatformed or dragged through some tribunal. We simply mock the idiocy. Now they want to ban that. This bill will do nothing to make the internet safer or more civilised. Indeed, it panders to the haters and hypocrites who try to have their political foes sacked and silenced. Corey, this bill is before the Victorian Parliament. It's been referred, they're looking at it. It's a Labor majority committee that are looking at it. I tell you, I'm worried about this one because doing something that might likely lead to severe ridicule. I mean, is that where we are now with free speech in this country?
It's extraordinary. It's Orwellian, but it's the end of the Melbourne Comedy Festival. I mean, if you want to shut
down... Oh, no, they're all woke. Remember they got rid of the Barry Awards?
This is the problem. It only works one way. When you're ridiculing someone on the basis of their sexuality because they're white males or their sexual preference because they're heterosexual, that's okay. It's only when it flows the other way. There is a devoid of common sense in Victoria.
But, you know, we've seen Jacinta Price cop the most disgusting threats and also just racial misogynistic abuse. None of these people who are so outraged by that sort of conduct speak up for her. It's always the usual suspects, the far left-leaning folk who cannot tolerate anyone else's opinion.
And if you look at trolls on various platforms of social media, they are dominated by far left haters. I'm sorry, I'm on Twitter all the time. I look at other social media platforms. You look at the commentary that comes after some of the newspaper items, if you want to dig that low. But if you do, you'll find that the trolls are made up of far left. And what they're trying to create here is a nation of sooks, where we all have to complain or we have to find a reason to find offence. And this is where that industry is growing from.
Well, it started with handing out participation ribbons to every kid in school because they didn't want to be a loser, you know, not being in the first, second or third. And it's gone on from there. It's infected a whole generation.